Hello, everyone. We are live. How is everyone doing today? Hi, my name is Oscar.
And my name is Alex.
So today we have a few stories lined up for you. Today we're going to be talking about basically just dance photography in general, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like it says. And basically we're going to be talking about like all the different people involved in photography and who like in dance. So we're going to be talking about the official photographer and what they do, who are they, the guest photographer, the parents, the iPhone photographers, press photographers and why we don't see them, and blogger photographers, and like we're going to be talking about who are those people, what do they do, and everything when it comes to them.
All right, and what they don't do.
Yes.
Okay.
And what they're like, basically what their role is, and
right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
okay.
So what do you want to start?
Let's just jump right in. Let's go with the official photographer. Who are they?
Official photographer. So, what is the official photographer at every dance competition you've been to? It's usually the person who, basically, it's a vendor for one thing. So, a vendor is usually hired by the organizer of the competition, just like there are vendors who are selling dresses or selling shoes. There is a photographer who's selling photography, and that's that vendor. The official way of becoming a vendor, like any other vendor, you signing the contract, you paying the fees, vendor's fee, or sometimes the fee may not exist. And again, we don't want to talk into this topic a little too deep. That's a separate big topic we're going to discuss couple shows from now. But anyway, so the official photographer has lots of responsibilities.
Yes.
That's a person who usually, if the competition goes for 3 or 4 days, that's a person who actually on his feet for all day long, since 7 o'clock in the morning till the end of the day. And the end of the day may be what? Typical end of the day.
How long it is? Oh, yeah. It's usually quite long because you have to be there like usually at least 15 minutes before the competition starts for that day.
So if the competition
like
starts 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock,
you have to be there early.
You have to be there.
And not only that, you have to go throughout the whole day taking pictures and working and being on your feet, moving around. And then you have to be, usually you stay at least like 5 or 10 minutes after the competition ends to close up and stuff. So
the day could be fairly long. It's actually, usually it's longer than 12-hour day. So, also, sometimes competitions not allowing you, they have a break basically from the first morning session. The morning ends usually 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, And then the evening session starts, what, 7:30ish, 8 o'clock?
Usually something like that, 7:38. Yeah.
So on the normal competition, you got a couple hours in between, and that's a break for all the vendors.
Yeah.
If you
Some
want to have a break.
photographers actually go up to their room, take like a nap or a rest, and get like kind of recharge for the night show, because the night show is way more demanding than
Correct.
than the day session.
And also, usually, official photographer would have a team. So the team would consist of the photographer. It may be assistant photographer or second photographer. It could be a person, or usually it's a lady who is doing sale at the booth. You obviously have a booth with some advertising.
Ideally the person, like the official photographer, would have at least 2 photographers, like him and someone else at least.
I guess I would say it depends on the size of the competition. Depending on how big is the competition. But at least I'd say at least it's a 1.5 photographer is advised to be there. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the coverage for everyone, and that's what generally your idea. Also,
especially if you want to go to the bathroom, then you have to have someone to do that. I mean, stuff happens. Like, someone kind of taps you on your shoulder and talks a little bit too long. It happens.
Also, the way the whole official photographer usually would have a booth set up, and I don't know. You tell me for how long you've been seeing iPads set up. So people who's dancing coming to the booth, and they usually have an ability to view on the iPad what was shot an hour or 2 ago and find their pictures. Was it forever since you dancing or not?
Yeah, I think so. Like since I could remember, I remember always seeing iPads. Always.
Okay.
From what I can remember.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is a common way of doing that. Again, there are various photographers. Some will tell you that this whole system does not work for them. But some owners, it's in the contract, and you're basically promising the owner that yes, you're going to bring the iPad system there.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the later shows. But anyway, at this point, so it's a photographer. You have a booth, you have the team, you have the iPad system where you can view photography. Not instantly, but it's
usually quite fast. By the end of the day, I would say.
By the end of the day, you're going to find your pictures. And basically, official photographer is there to cover the entire event, like Oscar just described.
Yeah.
And that would include not only action shots during the dance, but it also would include
the lineups.
Lineups. And can you just talk a little bit more about what the lineups are? For those who not exactly clear.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, essentially, what the lineups are is it's an award. It's not, the actual lineup is not an award itself, but it's once you get an award, like from usually the final of that event, like the top 6 people of that event would go and do a lineup on the floor, going from 6th place all the way to 1st place, and then while they're going up to line up, they get their awards. So essentially, a lineup, all it is just people lining up on the floor, and you can see who got, and they're in 6th to 1st place order.
Right. In actually, some of the organizers really they do care about having those photos to be taken, because when the competition is done and over, let's say some of them want to publish that in, let's say, Dance Beat, and you better have half decent at least photography for that stuff.
Yeah, because it's advertising. They want to advertise their competition.
Right. So this is advertising, and so that's important to shoot awards. So in many cases where, let's say, the award is happening and the whole floor is looking for a photographer, and the photographer took 5 minutes bathroom break, well, that's not...
That's exactly why you need a second photographer, just in case someone can do it.
Right. But anyway, that's part of the responsibility. So... And some people, by the way, there are dancers who are looking for action shots. Some dancers, as we're going to talk a little bit more about different photographers than the official photographer, looking for portraiture shots. And some care mostly for lineups and awards. And I don't know what they do with that stuff, but they probably frame it on the wall and they dance. Let's say if you go to some competitions are more known than others and more so you want to have memory, and
Oh, yeah.
basically you're buying picture, and you part of the, like Oscar just explained, top 6 who made the final, and
Yeah, you want it as a memory, especially if that's like your first time or
Right.
something. You want it as a memory.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And not only that's a big deal for you. I mean, also another thing is that, well, from one competition to another, 6 months down the road, you may change the dress, you may grow up, you're almost a different person.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that
yeah.
more in the parents/iPhone photography later on.
And so the official photographer is very, very, very common thing at every competition. And well, do we want to bring any? I mean, what are the pros of having the pros and cons? What are the negative sides of having the official photographer? Like, as you're looking at let's say you're a guest photographer, let's say a certain competition, and the official photographer is there.
Okay.
And as a dancer, what is your wish list for official photographer to do what he may not do as a typical offering?
Usually, if the photographer is good, like good pictures, I mean, assuming that they are, then really, usually I don't have any problems. Usually, like if they get their stuff on time, if they have good pictures, I usually don't want anything else.
Okay. Would you on every competition go to the iPad system and look at the pictures, or are you?
Not always, but if I was looking for a picture for a wall or something, of course I would go look. Yeah.
You go look.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like one thing that I could say is that I wish, obviously it's quite hard to do this, but you know what I do wish is that they would not come to you, like you would ask them and go outside to take pictures of you on like the backdrop.
Okay,
that's something that could be really nice.
It actually makes sense because lots of people,
because the iPhone quality is not so hot.
Right, and we'll talk about that
especially
a little bit later. Yeah, right.
For me as a photographer, I don't like the quality.
So also like what you said. So some people love action shots, and some people just want the background of the competition name or lineup, and that's another offering. In many cases, probably in most cases, the official photographer is not providing any photography outside of the action shots outside of the ballroom, and there are many reasons for that. So something it's not paying back for the efforts, so you have to have a second photographer, or it'll never pay you back. People taking pictures with iPhones, and we'll talk more about all that stuff. But basically, should we move on and talk about other photographers out there?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the guest photographer.
Okay.
Which is similar. But essentially what the guest photographer is, it can either be a secondary photographer to the primary one, which is usually the one who takes pictures of everyone and who has iPads. So the guest photographer can either be a secondary to that, who has no iPads, or it can be someone who was hired by the competition organizer for a different purpose for photography. So it can be either for a marketing purposes or something along those lines.
Yeah. So basically, just to give you an example of what the official photographer usually is not doing, because he's chasing everyone on the floor and he's basically shooting with one lens. He's really going under with changing lens and taking wide shot of the entire ballroom. And lots of people, just the same way as those pictures are used, like some people getting married and they want the venue to be, beautiful, and they're setting lots of money and time setting it up, and lots of organizers really proud of what they've done, and that's an extra effort. And it's very difficult for the official photographer to spend extra time doing that. So that second photographer, guest photographer,
can be quite important
in that regard. So another thing, what guest photographer I've seen do, and I believe it's a new trend.
Okay.
It's a portraiture photographer.
Yes.
So outside of the room, there are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful venues sometimes, and one of them, let's say, I don't know, they could be very simple hotels, and it could be very, very elaborate interiors of the.
Because sometimes the interior hotel is not necessarily the best, but the outside of the hotel, like the location of it, can be like 10 times better than the inside.
Right.
So maybe you can take You can take out. You can go take pictures outside. That would be super cool.
So basically, again, the official photographer would never have time to do that.
No,
And they
never.
really do. It's not the goal. And in that regard, the guest photographer could be not like official photographer cannot do what the guest photographer does, but typically it's just a different approach. So
Yeah.
I would think of the official photographer as a Walmart photographer. And again, nothing bad about the Walmart. We need those. But,
Yeah, I mean-
but basically you shooting lots of pictures and you delivering lots of pictures, and you just want to make sure that everyone got
Walmart.
something.
That term Walmart does not necessarily mean bad. It means necessary.
It's necessary, correct?
Yeah.
So on the contrary, the guest photographer could be much more artistic, and it could be much more of an artist or fine art photographer. And typically, the way he is hired to do the work, there is much more opportunity to do that. So the portraiture session could be, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour,
Yeah.
as long as you agree, what kind of packages you're selling. And just there is no way the official photographer has time or interest in doing that at the same time.
Unless the unless the main photographer hires a person to be
Right.
like secondary or tertiary,
Right.
and that is just dedicated to just taking portraits.
Right, but it's
Which is possible.
I've never seen that.
I haven't
honestly,
either, but I don't know why. Why haven't we?
well, I don't know.
People haven't thought about it. There's no market. There could be many reasons.
Yeah, people thinking that this is my market, this is what I do, and this is all I want to do, and don't get on my way.
Yeah.
Basically, this is how it is. So I'm sure there is clientele who wants portraiture photography while they dressed up and they
Yes.
putting on themselves.
I've seen that before,
I mean,
and people love it because it's personal.
Sure.
They spend like half an hour with you, taking whatever pictures you want. You can hang it up on your wall later. Like it's super nice and fun.
Obviously, you're not buying those people who ordering portraiture session. They're not buying individual pictures. It's usually a package. So the photographer usually would give you a package for, let's say, 30-minute shoot outside of the, inside the hotel, outside of the hotel,
Wherever.
30 minutes, 1 hour. And when the session is over, you're usually having, I don't know, you can have 3 dozens of pictures, you can have 300 pictures, but usually
It's usually a flat fee, probably.
it's a flat fee usually. And what's happening is that depending on the photography package offered and depending on the client, the photographer would probably give them options. Okay, I'm going to edit preliminary pictures. I'm going to sort them out. I'm going to edit them, preliminary edit them. And then you pick, let's say, 5 images, and we'll do final edit for 5 images. And 1 or 2 will be printed on the wall, let's say. And some packages, by the way, will include the 20 by 30 printing or larger printing. And that's, to me, this is just interesting concept. And I think it's giving lots of creative opportunities to the photographers. And also it's giving dancers who, there are dancers who spending, $5,000 on the dress, and another few $100 for the photography package and the beautiful portraiture in their living room, which will impress everyone who's coming to their home, is very important.
Oh yeah.
So that's just how it is. So that was a guest photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else we missed on the guest photographer? Actually, one thing we did.
What?
So sometimes the guest photographer can also do action shots in the room, but not to interrupt.
Yeah, there's many different types of a guest photographer. Like we said, there can be a portrait, or there can be a secondary action shots one,
right.
which can either be just by orders only to differentiate.
You know what I want to talk about a little bit to make a clear difference between the two. So let's say I'm official photographer.
Okay.
And I'm shooting the finals of the, finals of, doesn't matter what style, whatever style it is. And there are at least 6 couples on the floor, at least. In the first or second round, it could be twice as many.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, in the dances, you have rounds of 5 dances. So 5 dances is a round, basically, and each dance is what, a minute?
Minute 30.
Okay. So it's a
Yeah.
short rounds. And well, do you really think that you can take pictures of every couple out of 12 couples on the floor?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So what is the guest photographer will do as opposed to the official photographer? The guest photographer will take the order. You sign up for the photo. He'll be following you on the floor for the entire 5-7 minutes of the entire round.
Yes.
And he's not going to be worrying about swinging the camera and looking for someone else. He's only following you.
That's a very big deal.
So it's a super big deal. So you're probably gonna get, I want to say 5, 6, 10 times more shots. So the chances of getting a great shot, I'd say 500%.
Oh, yes.
So is that important? Yes, it's important. Versus every photographer, you shot 5 times one couple, you shot another couple, you shot third couple, fourth couple, and all of a sudden the round is over and someone just not getting any pictures.
Yes.
And believe it or not, at the end of the competition, for some people, it's so important to have the pictures, and they will bug you and you have no answer for them. Why didn't you? Why my pictures are not there? Why? What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I believe, again, we're not pushing on this guest photographer, but we're just explaining why we think it's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay, so anything else on the guest photographer?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. So the next person, I guess, that we want to talk about is parents.
Right. So
very important when it
parents.
comes to
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
because they're the one who pay for everything.
that's exactly right. My experience on the parents' photography comes from, believe it or not, my daughter-in-law was a professional photographer, professional dancer, and her mom telling me all kinds of stories about what she was trying to do and how she was either buying photography from the professionals or actually using iPhone, and what is her experiences. And she's one of the ladies who actually very, very proud of what her daughter did, and she was helping her through many years of her dancing career,
Which is good.
which is awesome.
That's what the parents are supposed to do.
Right.
Encourage.
And they do have really beautiful dance shot in the living room. It's not huge. It's probably, I want to say, it's not 20 by 30. It's probably, what's the next size down? 18 by, I don't know. It's probably 16 by 20 or maybe 16 by 24.
Okay.
And anyway, and it's a memory forever. So again, she's been using photographers for many years, and she was a parent who was also taking the iPhone and using iPhone. And how many times does it work or doesn't it work? I don't know. But anyway, lots of parents. You know what I want to talk about. The first couple days of the competition are usually adults, right? And the kids
Usually, yes.
And kids are dancing.
As a general rule, yes. Yeah, usually that's how it is.
Sunday usually is a kids' day, right?
Usually.
Okay. So
It depends on the competition.
So what is usually happening on a Sunday as far as what's happening to the official photographer on Sunday, from your experience?
Most of the time, the official photographer stays.
Wow.
Usually.
I was going to say just the opposite. Most of the time, what I've seen, the photographer would just pick their stuff, and sometimes they would stay, but most of the time they would explain that there is no purpose of
it's
them.
It's a 50-50.
It's a 50. Okay, that's more of a fair deal. Okay,
yeah.
So
sometimes it stays. I feel like for me, I've seen that most of the time they stay.
Really?
But sometimes they don't.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't rely on it, is what we're saying.
All right. So basically, some of the photographers thinking that it's a very because parents photographers are taking over. Everyone who's a parent there with the phone or with the camera taking pictures, and there is no place for photographer. And parents already spending lots of money, so they're not probably buying as much as the pro-am dancers are.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, some photographers will stay, and some photographers will never stay for that stuff.
And that's why it's good to have a guest photographer, because then maybe the main photographer leaves, but then the guest can stay.
Right.
Which is also another good thing for the guest photographer.
Right. All right. So just one more thing. I don't want to go on this topic, but basically, uh, the guest photographer is also a vendor. So the way
Usually, yeah.
usually
No, they're all hired.
It's a vendor who may have some much less fees paying for being a vendor than official photographer, but also it is an official vendor, and that's
Yeah.
basically the owner of the competition or organizer of the competition can benefit from having a guest photographer as
yes.
well as the official photographer. So
Because they do different jobs.
they do different jobs.
They're not necessarily just because they're both technically dance photographers does not mean that they are encroaching on each other's
But
job.
also in the on the technical aspect of what they're doing, the action photographer usually would have a lens which is a typical 100% always 70 to 200.
99% of the time.
Okay,
yes.
so it's one lens photographer. Outside of the lineups, he never switched the lens. So the only time when he does switch the lens or the whole camera,
Which for the uninitiated is usually like the kind of like the big long white lens, if you're wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have one to show you right now.
We had one in the last episode. It was sitting right in front.
So if you want to look at the first episode, you'll see it. But anyway, and on the contrary, the guest photographer may bring actually different equipment and may bring different lenses. So it could be
because they're not only shooting dance on action shots, they're shooting portraiture, which requires different lenses. Obviously, the 7200 is a great lens. It's very versatile for dance and for portraiture.
Correct.
But for portraits, you could use other lenses like a 100 mil or a 50 mil 1.2 or 1.4.
I think it all depends on the photographer. What you're gonna do on the space where you're shooting.
Yes.
Can you shoot with like let's say 100 millimeter lens? 100 millimeter, you need to have some space. If you have the space.
But if you're outside and you have a beautiful background, you could even shoot with like 11 to 24.
Absolutely.
Who cares? There's no rules.
So outside, if you are shooting outside, if the competition and time is allowing for that, and you actually have the clientele, and I've done it on many, many, many occasions, in the weather's cooperating, you may have some beautiful images with a blurred background, and usually using 85 millimeter, 100 millimeter, 135 millimeter lens. It's a fixed lens. It's a different photography what you're doing. You're using different settings. We don't want to go into settings today, right?
No, not today.
That's not what we're discussing. But basically, just giving you an idea what the guest photographer may do for you being a dancer, what the guest photographer may do for the organizer, and what the best guest photographer may do for overall, I guess, bringing the different approach and different quality to the dance competition as far as visual marketing materials. So it's a different photographer, different photography style.
For sure.
Okay, so
and different jobs.
Okay, so we talked about parent photographer a little bit, and I want to just what I want to talk about.
Let's continue with the parents.
Yeah, let's continue with parents. This is
okay. So you might have noticed at competitions if you've been if you've just paid attention to the parents, some parents actually own real cameras.
A lot of them. Lately,
a surprising amount.
Lately, you may see at the same time you're coming on Sunday and you're shooting with, let's say, okay, you have a camera, professional camera, but parents will bring camera, basically the same camera you're shooting with. They may or may not have a set of lenses you're using, but really it's not unusual in the last few years. And we're in 2022 now. And I'd say since before the COVID time, people would have a super professional lens, and they would bring it in the room, and the setup they have in their hands could be $5,000, $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah,
easily.
But the thing about that is, just because they have an expensive camera and lens setup, does not equal good pictures.
Right.
Not at all. Like you can have the world's greatest gears. They're like a 1DX Mark II, which is a $6,000 camera, a 70-100, which is like at least a $2,000 lens. Does not mean you're going to get good pictures. You need to know how to use the gear. Right. Like for instance, if you give an amateur a $10,000 setup or a professional a $2,000 setup, the professional will always get better images.
It'll be probably equal results.
Yeah.
In anyway, or similar results. But again, not to diminish the effort of the parents.
No, definitely not.
To try to do the photographer's job, but unfortunately, the difference is, and again, the job can be done if you're only shooting your child.
And if you're satisfied with that,
and
then
you're
that's
satisfied,
okay.
that's awesome.
That's
That's
great.
actually I feel like, yeah, if you have the cam, I mean, that is not.
But it's really expensive.
It's really expensive,
Yeah.
so it's not for everyone.
No.
And all I want to talk about a little bit more about having parents in the room, and when the photographer, the pro photographer, official photographer, or guest photographer is there, that I would like to remind parents that, let's say, if I'm shooting the award ceremony, I don't want 10 people or 20 parents to be to getting in front of me.
That's really annoying.
Because honestly, if I can't get my job done, that's my job. I have to deliver the pictures. So
sorry, parents, but you're not the priority.
Right. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
And usually actually people with a similar equipment, like fancy cameras, professional cameras, we will be basically spaced in the same space. But if you have an iPhone, in many cases, because the iPhone has a really wide lens.
Yeah, really wide.
To have something decent, you really have to get, let's say, 10, 15, 12, 5 feet
really
in
close.
front, really close, and you are on the way for everyone. And if you got in the shot, then no one's getting the picture. Okay, so you basically ruining the.
Basically, everyone hates you now.
Right. So just think.
We're
about
being a
that.
little harsh here, but it's the truth.
Right.
Sorry,
So-
people.
so-
You have to. The photographer is the priority. You have to let them do their job.
Correct.
So please get out of the way in the most respectful way. Please get out of the way. It can be really hard for us to
and
do our
also
job.
there are lots of people who do understand this whole concept, but also I can understand the parents' excitement about that their kids are actually right now on the top 6.
Yeah,
and they
that
are
is exciting.
And it's very exciting, and they are there. And basically, honestly, I'll tell you one thing: when you're taking a shot, close-up shot with iPhone, maybe you'll get something out of that. And keep doing what you're doing and practice and do that. But taking a group picture with iPhone,
Pretty- I think it's much better than action shots, obviously.
well, it's a still image, but as far as getting everyone in focus, I think it's actually difficult. So it's not as easy as you think. But
Yeah.
but you're getting memory. You're getting memory, and we understand it, and it's fine. Just
No, because the iPhone or just any phone in general has it strives at wide angle stuff, and because
Correct.
for like a big lineup you need a wide angle. So I think that's way better than, for instance, an action shot. Like getting an action shot with the phone is just impossible.
Right. On the contrary, and again, that's not the topic we want to talk about, but on the contrary, I just want to say it, bring it up today, that having an iPhone, and I can handheld iPhone, I can do pretty decent video, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, decent, it's not a professional video by no means, but it's a very decent for the social media. It's
Yeah, for social media, usually the bar is set a little bit lower, I would say.
right, but it's a good memory, and
Yeah.
it's half professional. If you do little bit of an editing, you can get
Yeah.
decent shot. But get a decent still shot with iPhone, and when I'm saying decent shot, I mean the shot you can print larger than 2 by 2 inches. It's
2 by 2 inch.
well, that's what the iPhone. Well, what's iPhone? Yeah, 2.5, but yeah, it's basically interesting. Interesting. I just looked at my phone, and I make you read this Instagram. Who's looking at the pictures? Fordney Foundation.
Yeah, Fordney Foundation.
So you want to talk a little bit about, since we're talking kids and parents, can you just bring it up and say who these people are?
Fordney Foundation. So essentially, Fordney Foundation is this foundation that was created by a woman named Fordney. That's how the name came about. And it's basically just like the competition organizer can sign up to be in the Fordney Foundation, and then kids compete. And if they win, they can go on to Ohio Star Ball, which is in November, like the second half of November, and they create you create a show dance. So if you've won a Fordney Foundation event in a competition, then you can go into Ohio, and that's like the final Fordney. And essentially, what that is that you create a show dance for that, and then everyone performs their show dance.
Oh, believe it or not, I didn't even know that. But I
Yeah.
thought in multiple different competitions, I'm seeing the Fordney Foundation presenting the awards to.
Yeah, because they give you a piece of paper and then you got to sign up for it. And then again, you just go on to Ohio, you make a show dance and perform it at Ohio Star Ball.
Oh.
And if you win, then I'm not sure what you win, but it's just I actually got second place for Fordney Foundation
well,
at Ohio. That
sounds
was
great.
really pretty good, actually.
Sounds great. You know,
Yeah.
This is sounds great. But why I looked on the phone, I was posting this morning on Instagram, and the pictures I was posting was from Windy City Open a couple of weeks ago, and the last day was Sunday, and that was lots of kids and teenagers dancers.
Yeah.
And I start using those pictures and posting them, and and basically I'm mentioning anyone I can tag. I'm mentioning the dancer. I'm also tagging the coaches, and as well as I'm tagging the Fordney Foundation, because that's what these kids are. That's their target. That's what they
you
want to
win
do.
that. You want to go on to Ohio.
They want to go to Ohio and they want to win. So interesting enough, you being a photographer, you have to think of all that stuff, what comes into the play when you marketing yourself. And I think it's important anyway to know. The more you know, the better you are.
Yes.
Okay, so parents photography. So in the very beginning, we were talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So what's the bad things about the parents being a photographer?
Like I said before, sometimes they can get in the way. Obviously, that's number one. They can get in the way. But apart from that, sometimes they can obviously, because this podcast is about us from our point of view. So we're going to talk about from our point of view, which is the takeaway a little business.
Okay. All right. So that's
not too much, but a little bit.
So when the 20 parents getting in front of the official photographer, when you're doing lineup, it's pretty ugly, because you literally have 5 seconds to take your shot. And if you missed it for your 5 seconds, the owner may talk to you afterwards, and you're not delivering the shot. So you basically
too late.
It's too late. It's
once you miss it, there's not going back. There's no going back.
So we talking to parents right now, hopefully, and we're trying to just pass that message that there are cases when you have to be, standing back a little bit.
Yes.
And allowing professionals to do the work anyway. Despite the fact that we all understand that you want the memories on your iPhone,
yes,
and that's awesome. It's all great.
We understand that, but just don't get in the way. That's all we ask.
Just don't get in the way. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So next type of photography we want to talk about.
Let's talk about
press photography. It's a short topic, but anyway,
let's get it over with. Yeah.
Okay. So press photographer. When we're talking about press photographer, what is the press photographer?
So essentially, by what we mean by press is like anyone who's in newspaper or any kind of like a mainstream news, essentially, I think, right?
Okay.
Like newspaper, like news, whatever. Some kind of like a news agency. And
you don't even have to be a news agency. You can be a photographer with some corporation, and you want to be at the event, and you asking. Usually, there is a process how you applying to be a press photographer. You coming in, and they will allow you the spot where the press photographers are going to be working from, and basically you applying for official way to the event. You don't buy ticket. They will just let you in, and then your newspaper, your organization who send you will rely on you supplying the picture.
Kind of like how it is at like football games or soccer games or something like that.
So why we brought that topic in?
Basically, it's just because we want to ask a question.
Right.
Why don't we have any?
So why
we have a few theories, but really that's the question we're trying to ask for press photographers. Why do we not have any mainstream people at our dance events.
Yeah, I'm literally thinking that wouldn't it be great to have
It would be amazing.
a photographer who, and all of a sudden your pictures will show up in some local, local or national news
Whatever
or
it is.
newspapers. I mean, how many people would enjoy that? I think a lot. I mean, you never
Why
know.
wouldn't you enjoy that? You're in a
Right.
newspaper. That'd be so
Right.
much fun.
Right. So I think, like, in the place where I live, there is a Northbrook Park district, and people come and I submit the pictures from, well, let's say a dog park. I spend every morning with my dog in the dog park.
Yeah.
And I take a picture, I submit it to the Northbrook Park district, and they would use it. And
Oh, really? That's cool.
And that's how it is. So when I go for the local Northbrook events, and I've shot a few. I've been official photographer for the Northbrook on Ice show,
Oh,
and that's a 4-day
that's cool.
event. And well, there is lots of activities, and it's all publicized, and it's all published, and it's all, there are all kinds of media they are interested in your pictures. So I think it's a shame that dance competition, where lots of money is really spent, lots of dancers
Yes.
doing absolutely phenomenal job.
And also, it takes a lot of work to get ready for a competition.
Right.
You got to get your hair done. You got to practice a lot ahead of time.
And none of those pictures getting outside of the actually dance
Community.
industry community.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually
It is a shame.
I don't know. It's why is this way, and why it has to be this way.
I feel like basically what we're trying to say is that we need to get some press photographers. Come on, let's come in. Spread the word about dance. Let's get more
Correct.
people into the dance community. That'll be so much fun.
I think for the entire industry, it will be a great thing, because right now we kind of we are community, but it's the word is not getting outside of that community. Even like I'm thinking just for the simplicity. So let's say I want the night out, and I want to have a dinner, and I want to have some entertainment. And actually, I think that going to the dance events where they have don't even have the fancy show on Saturday. Let's say they don't,
Okay.
but there are still professionals dancing there.
Yes.
And let's say the tickets, I don't know what, $75. Let's say.
Yeah.
It's a great value. It's a fun thing to do. It's a great value, and
Just to watch. We're saying just to watch.
just to watch, just to be a guest. And imagine if the word will get outside, and dozens of more people will buy tickets and
Yeah.
come to the events. And I don't see actually
And
anything.
plus, it's more profit for the
right.
organizers and
I
everyone.
don't see any negative sides to that.
I don't.
And until we do have these press photographers present in the room, the word is probably not going to get out of that room. So
No, it's really not.
So again, we may not
Unless it's
be-
word of mouth. But that's only like friends and family, like a few people, right?
Honestly, I
Not much.
don't want to say that I understand this topic to the very extent and I have all the answers. We're just
blasting a question.
We're just blasting a question. Why the press photographers never at these events? And when you go to the football game, you're going to see 20, 30, 40 photographers,
A
or maybe
lot.
50 photographers. And believe it or not, every one of them will only get, if each of them is lucky, one shot. They're going to bring to publish in the newspaper. So
We're talking about like an amazing good shot.
right, amazing good shot. And the same thing here. I mean, the amazing good shots of the competition, how many per competition we can get amazing shots?
A few. I can count on my fingers.
1 or 2 or 3. Amazing.
Like,
we're
like
talking-
absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Right, right.
Less than 5.
Or right. So imagine if you would have more photographers on the floor. The chances are
Much higher.
much higher to get those phenomenal shots. So you can get not only those shots for personal memories, you can do lots of stuff. You can create world art from those. You can print them large stuff. You can make posters. When I say posters versus fine art prints, I mean posters with some basically graphic design and text, and basically they would be referring to the competition.
Yeah.
In one way or another. I think, well, it's a shame in my mind that, again, we limited to the one photographer on the floor. So
That's the bad part that we're talking about
Right.
of the title. That's the bad part. that why is only one? There should be more people involved in this. Like it's such a missed opportunity when again, like we were saying, when it comes to the press, like there should be more people there to spread the word, make the community bigger. I don't see any downside to including more people. Apart from there could be one, people could get mad.
People could be
Like
get
the
mad.
photographers could be mad if there's more competition.
It's not mad. It just photographers. I think the any industry you are in, you can be photographer, videographer, fine artist. It's a competition. It's a competition. You know, I'm pro for competition anyway. You may be good, but if you don't have any competition, then you're not gonna push yourself really. This is not how it works. So I would open the floor for more people to show their skills and compete, just like
Yeah.
dancers compete the same way photographers.
No, yeah, I was
compete.
saying that's a good thing. We
And
need more people.
Honestly, think about this. So you have 5 photographers, and they're not necessarily even professional photographers, but let's say you
Yeah.
bring a big camera to the competition. There are lots of amateur people who spend lots of money for their cameras, and they want to show what they can do.
Yeah.
And they probably would pay $100 for having actually using the camera, or $50. I mean, if you go to the museum,
Yes.
and some museums would say, hey, you say, can I take pictures? And they say, yeah, you can take pictures, but you have to buy a ticket. Basically, the additional.
But the thing about that is that right now there's nothing in place for that.
Right.
Because we obviously the organizers would need to create some plan or some. They would need to create this kind of a thing in order for it to work. Because right now there's nothing in place that says, "Here, I'm just a person that want to take pictures with my great new camera that I just bought, and I'll pay you $100. I'm okay with that." But there's nothing in place for that.
So
It should be easier.
in other words, the system should allow. If the system would allow,
Yes,
for
sure.
photographers to be on the floor, listen. You're sitting on your seat. You bought the ticket to the show, and you're sitting on your seat, and you have a big camera. I would understand that. Yeah, if you're using big camera, you probably should pay a fee for
That makes sense.
for taking pictures. So basically, that will help organizers to basically collect a little bit more money.
Yeah, because right now, if you try to bring a big camera, some people, like the official photographer, could get mad at you because
Correct.
they don't know what you're doing there. You could be working for someone, and someone could be paying you, but they don't know about that. So I feel like there should be some kind of a fee that you should pay,
Correct. Yeah, and that would
which makes sense.
And that would be just fair deal.
It should be.
It
Yeah.
would be much more fair deal than people bring the cameras and iPhones anyway and taking pictures anyway, and the organizers are not benefiting from that. It is a zero.
Yeah, there's
It's
nothing you
nothing.
can. There's nothing
Nothing.
There's not much that you can really do about the iPhone photography.
Right.
But
And the smaller
yeah.
cameras, and there are small, great cameras. If you're looking at some equipment, you don't have to have a huge camera.
No, you really don't.
Or these days, you can have there are some models and some brands, they're producing fairly small body and small cameras.
Especially because the industry is now moving towards mirrorless.
Yeah, the camera's
It's
getting
so much smaller and lighter and better.
So anyway, we kind of a little bit deviating from the topic. I didn't think that we're going to talk about all that stuff, but this is a good conversation. This is a good.
Yes.
This is really important.
We're really trying to get as in depth as possible, so you guys really,
Yeah,
so you guys can really see how it actually is.
Right.
We're not holding anything back.
Right. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, now we want to move on. We talked about press photographer, actually more than I thought we would ever talk about that because it doesn't exist right now. But okay, what's the next
But it
topic?
should. But
Blogger?
yes.
Blogger photographer?
Sure. Let's go ahead.
So, what is a blogger photographer, and do you see them on the dance floor? Is that its entity would exist right now in your mind? And then I'll pitch in
Right now, I don't think it exists.
I think it does exist. Think about it. You've seen people who hanging there. They could be marketers. They could be
Okay.
marketers or who hired for marketing companies actually who hired by the owners. They could be again typically when I'm saying companies, it could be one person doing everything. He would have a blog, like it usually not equipment.
Well, what do you mean by a blogger, like exactly? Just so that people know.
It could be a person who taking video of the action on the floor, taking pictures of the action of the floor, can come approach dancers after the competition and start interviewing them on camera.
Okay.
It could be
It's
someone
like blogger, photographer / videographer.
right,
Like anyone with a camera.
and actually marketer as well. So
Yes.
so
So that can kind of like go into guest photographer a little bit.
a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. But that, I think that role does exist.
Yes.
And lots of
It's not super often, but it does exist.
it does exist. I'd say, I don't know. Lately, actually, I'm seeing
More
that
and more.
more and more and more and more, that owners realizing that actually
Having a dedicated person just for marketing or for just videography interviews can be very useful.
I don't even know
to
for
post.
sure if they're giving up the accounts to those people, and basically those
I think
people
they are.
acting as them.
I've seen organizers do that. They give them the credentials to like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and then the videographer or photographer takes the videos or pictures, edits them, and posts them for marketing purposes to advertise.
Basically, on behalf of the owners of the competition, that's the role which does exist.
Yeah.
And the way I understand, those people are basically just hired and they paid by days, hours. I'm sure there is a.
I think it's usually by hours.
Okay, so it's some kind of a contract
Probably.
anyway.
Yeah.
In many cases.
No, but usually they're usually hired by the organizer. They don't just show up. They're hired to advertise.
There is no right. So it's usually. So why is that happening? Why it does exist? Why is the official photographer not sufficient official videographer not sufficient for the owners and organizers for the video and photo materials? I mean, why is it not enough?
I don't know. Wait, what do you mean exactly?
Well, okay, let me answer what I said. I'm thinking that the photographer or videographer who work, the official guy, whose purpose is solely to make money, and of course they want to do the best job they can do, and take beautiful video and beautiful pictures. But basically, they serving immediate purpose. Someone order photos or will be ordering photos, and that's what they're providing. It would take them probably, I mean, if you're creating post factum, if you're creating a gallery for the owners, and some photographers and videographers do, it will take a day or two.
You mean some official photographers do?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sharing their materials later on after they done with sale. But it does take time. It takes time they're not getting paid for, and they're already on the next job. So it's very difficult. It's not dedicated thing for them to do. So
because sometimes we actually want to kind of like shed some light onto this, because the official photographer sometimes is like obligated to give like some material to the organizer, but sometimes, again, like what you're saying, we don't have time, or like it can be quite hard to do this extra stuff, especially because we're not paid for it. So I feel like we should be compensated. Like, we're giving you a lot of material, like sometimes 50 to 100 images.
Okay, I want to talk about that on a separate show. This is probably a little too much.
Sure. Okay, but like I'm just trying to say that we should be compensated in some way for that, because that is a lot of extra work that we have to do.
It is, and I think later, to some extent people understand that, and I mean,
but then again, they keep doing it.
Yeah, but basically that conversation comes usually when you're signing up for the job. It usually comes in the conversation when you're signing the contract, or making an oral contract. It's basically when the owner's saying, "Hey, I'm gonna waive a little bit of your vending fee, but you owe me, let's say, the gallery of 300 photos."
Yeah.
And then that could be a fair deal. It could be, it's all discussable between the photographer, artist, and the owners of the competition. Or in some cases, like we seeing lately, because everyone understands that that's the goal of the official photographer is a little different from the goal of the marketer photographer or blogger photographer.
Yeah,
that they're hiring a separate person for doing that stuff.
Especially because like either the main photographer or the guest, like they can't do more than one thing at a time. Like they can't do more than what they were hired to do usually.
Correct.
Like if you're the main photographer and you got hired to take pictures of everyone and sell pictures of the action shots, then that's all you have time to do.
Really, yes.
And for the guest photographer, let's just say the guest photographer at X competition is doing pictures, portrait pictures, then that person doesn't have time for anything else. That person doesn't have time for marketing pictures. That's why you need to hire a separate person just for marketing purposes.
And that's becoming more and more and more and more often what we're seeing actually on the floor. So you do see official photographer, you may see some, well, what we talked about, guest photographers, parents photographers, the marketing people who also carrying sometimes very nice equipment.
Yes.
And the only one we, again, just to reiterate the same topic, the only one we do not see, well, ever is a press photographer.
Which again, we said, we should see.
So the word is not getting outside of the box, really. It's all sitting in the same room. And I talked to a few local newspapers.
What did they say?
They said they would love to see that, and that's an interesting topic.
Let's get them in. Let's go. What are we waiting for?
I don't know. This is something to be discussed.
I really wonder what's holding them back from
I
going.
don't know. We need to talk to the
we should talk to them.
organizers and engage them in the conversation. Well, this is the starting point where we are today.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear what they say.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're overwhelmed with majority of the people who are running competitions, who own the competition. It's a hell of a job actually to run a big competition.
It's so much little things involved here, there. You're always doing something. It's hard to organize a competition.
So what I've seen from, again, I don't want to say limited experience I have, because I have limited. I didn't do it for 20 years. I only did it for a couple of years, few years. Some organizers know a lot about photography and they know exactly what they want from the photographer.
Yes. And some don't.
And some don't. And
we got to educate them.
In why, one way or another, I guess it's okay. But we would like to create
awareness
of what's going on and how can we help organizers not only provide great photography for the people who's buying, but also have absolutely phenomenal, adequate. When you see those ballroom dances, you sometimes you're just like, whoa, this is insane. This is such a creative, beautiful things. It's a piece of art. The same thing with what hair artists are doing. Some of them doing absolutely phenomenal.
Dance is an art.
Exactly. Dance by itself is an art, but even the the dance dresses are art. The hairs are art. The shoes could be art.
And obviously the pictures is also art of the art.
Of the art. So I think that we should absolutely have phenomenal results with all that stuff. And sometimes we do have one or two phenomenal results, but most time it's just like, it's okay, just okay.
Yeah.
So what we would like to see is more of that phenomenal, more of that artsy, more of that creative. And we want, basically, the goal is to engage as many people as we can to discuss this topic. So do you want to kind of summarize and say what we want to see as far as people, how people can get comment on what we're talking about?
Oh yeah. So I was going to say a little bit about how, if you guys ever have any questions about anything that we're talking about here, or if you want to have some further discussion, or just like a completely unrelated question about either dance or photography, whatever, doesn't matter, something related to that, you can always post it in the comments and I will see it. Okay, so just make sure you post in the comments, or you can comment. Will be even better if you came and joined live into the live stream. and you can comment there, and then we can put your comment up on screen, and we can kind of respond to it, and then we can keep kind of communicating back and forth. That would be super cool for you guys and for us, because we would love to answer your questions. That's the whole point of this podcast, is we want to educate you, essentially. We want for you guys to get more involved, and eventually on a different episode, we're going to go over photography 101.
Right.
How to take pictures as a beginner. Okay? So, again, please comment. We would love to answer your questions.
Yeah, and I hope that you guys enjoying what we're talking about.
Yes.
And I hope it definitely helps me through the conversation. We're discovering what needs to be improved on. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What
if
is
you have
our
any
experiences?
if you have any critiques of this podcast, or what you want to see, or what you like or don't like, again, please go ahead and post in the comments.
Right. Maybe you do have some topics you would like to
even better.
us to discuss. We'd also love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
And that would be absolutely phenomenal to do that. But again,
we want to know what you guys want.
Right.
That's the whole point.
But
If we know what you guys want, then we can go ahead and do it. So you guys will be more engaged, and you'll have more kind of benefit out of it. Right? I mean,
yeah. No, that is the goal. And hopefully through the next few podcasts we're creating, we'll engage more crowd. And I know it's probably a slow process, but it's going to take some time.
That's okay.
But
we're here. We're here just to share our experiences and our kind of knowledge that we've gained through experience and all that.
Right, and we'll try to bring new topics. And are we going to talk about what possible topics we're going to discuss next time at this point or not? Or
sure. You want to go ahead?
Well, we know we're not going to do the podcast next Sunday because it's a holiday weekend.
Yeah, so we're not going to be able to do a podcast next Sunday. Like basically almost for 3 weeks, we're not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be able to do. We'll discuss schedule later on, but yeah. So don't expect a podcast in the next 3 weeks, at least. Okay. Because we have lots of stuff going on. I have competitions personally.
But you're gonna be doing, and I have some jobs I have to do. Basically, some work I need to do. So. Okay, that's a point. That's a point. Are you going to be posting little clips and bits and pieces of this podcast separately?
Yeah, of course. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you're on right now, I'm assuming, or if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify or something similar, then be sure to go ahead and go to our YouTube channel where we post the video podcast, the video of this where we live stream. Be sure to subscribe so that you'll be notified when we go live. And also you can go and look through our YouTube channel to see the clips where we post YouTube shorts and little short snippets and clips of the podcast. So if you don't have time to watch the entire thing, for instance, or if you just want to get like a little bit of quick tidbits here and there, then go ahead and subscribe, check all those out, and you can learn a little bit from the shorts.
And again, the purpose of this podcast, again, is a visual photography is obviously visual art.
Yes.
And the target of this podcast is we have the YouTube channel, and you can also listen us, like Oscar just said, on the Spotify, and basically get an idea of what we're talking about, what the issues are, what the good things happening in the industry, what the bad things happening in the industry, and how we can fix them, and what the goals are while you're driving the car. I mean, this is you don't have to look at anything. This is the whole purpose. And we really appreciate your comments.
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah. So if you guys again, to reiterate one last time, if you ever have any sort of question, no matter how big or small the question is, post in the comments. If you have a question about cameras, lenses, like any gear, for instance, or any settings, whatever the question is, post it.
Yeah, but I feel like you're almost anxious to talk about the technical side at one of the podcasts.
Oh, anyway. I'm definitely very excited for that episode.
So I bet there are lots of people out there who wants to know what are the basic settings of the cameras, using what
especially if you.
I'm using,
Yeah.
and what are the options out there, and how they can get the best results quick. I'm not sure if there is a quick solution for that, but anyway,
Yeah.
people probably do believe that
We
there is a
want to
solution.
get you guys experienced and getting out there as fast as we can, as possible, basically. So we want to kind of kickstart your journey into the dance photography and the world. So just be sure to subscribe and we'll tell you all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think we're
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's it for today, guys. Be sure to join us whenever the next episode will be. Be sure to subscribe one more time so you can be notified when it's live, when we're live. And I think that's going to be it for today.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you guys for your patience and participation.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. See ya.